All right.
Hello,
Hello.
hello, hello. We're here. We
We're
made it.
here. Yay.
I'd like to welcome all the participants here to day 3 of the Young African Leaders Initiative. We made it through day 1, we made it through day 2, and now we're here at day 3. And all of you that are here watching are absolutely in for a treat. Not to hear someone talk at you, but to hear someone talk with you. And what we would like to do here in this space is create an intimate setting where we're just having a conversation. We're having a conversation with one another. That we can learn a little bit more about the art of servant leadership. So what I want to do now is welcome our keynote speaker or our special guest, Miss Joni Ray. Ms. Joni Ray is the CEO of the Mindset Group, a leadership, coaching, and strategic communications firm. We're going to break down what that actually means. And in addition to that, she's been an executive coach and a business management consultant, which is something I know something about, for over 15 years with a lot of different brands. You may have seen them, MGM, Citibank, and others. So not only does she coach here in the US, but also internationally. And I think that there are so many perspectives that we're going to be able to pull from that. So, Ms. Joni Ray, welcome.
Thank you, Michael. Hi, everybody. I'm Joni. I'm so excited to be here with you. I mean, this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. Servant leadership is very much an art, more of an art than a science. And I love the title of this. So you being here, we're all supposed to be here in this space. I know we're all remote, but it's like we're all together in person and sharing this very, I think, very divine space of talking about something that needs to be talked about more. So thank you for being here. I know you have a lot of choices, and Michael and I we're really excited to have you here. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, so we're just going to talk. So,
yes.
So if you don't mind, I'll kind of open it up. You mentioned art and science, and I don't know if it was my aunt or my sister or someone just kind of telling me, I guess, the art of baking, the art of cooking, and the difference between baking and cooking, and one's a science and one's an art. So when we're kind of applying those two different approaches to servant leadership, could you kind of give us, your thoughts on the art of servant leadership?
Yeah. Yep. And that's such a great analogy, Michael. There's the art of cooking, the art of the art of fill in the blank, whatever hobby you have. And the reason why we call it the art of is because there's a flow to it. There's an energy to it. There's a dance to it. I'm actually a former hip hop dancer, and I grew up dancing. So
fun fact.
Yeah, I'm all about the arts, right? So what does art have to do with servant leadership? I love for you all that you're all here and you chose this topic that shows who you actually are as a person and as a leader to want to learn about servant leadership and the art. So Michael, for your question, tell me about the art of it. The art of it really is, how do we in that moment do the dance? How do we do this dance in leadership? And like us taking a dance class or a cooking class, that's how I would love, Michael, for you and I to spend, our short time here together with the audience is talking about how that dance is done. So that's how I'll answer the question right off the bat. That the art of it, it's like a dance. It's being present. It's having the confidence and the experience to get you to this place where I know who I am. I know why I'm here. I'm here to serve, and this is what it looks like. So Michael, we can have a talk about what that looks like, and I'd love for people to walk away with practical tips on okay, if this was a cooking show, it's not, but if it was, then you would know, okay, I can cook this thing because Michael and Joni talked about this recipe, and I'm going to go buy these ingredients. What I would love for you all to walk away with is, okay, what does the art of leadership look like, and being that servant leader and having that empathy? What can I personally do? We're going to go into all of that fun stuff, Michael. I'm really excited.
So this is and for everyone out there watching, I don't know if you were taking notes, but just everything you just said right now, I've taken so many notes already. So I guess, we understand kind of the context, and we're setting the stage for the different things that we want to get into, and participants, we also want to hear the questions from you. So feel free to be typing those in right now if you hear something as we speak, and at some point we will get to all of those, so we can make it an international interaction. But
Yeah.
but I do want to just take one step back, and ask Joni, how did you get into all this? How, I mean, you were breaking it down and it's like, okay, you know a lot. We're clear. But how did you get into this space, this area? Did you switch careers? How did you go from there to where we are now?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Michael. I have a very specific moment when I realized I want to dedicate my life to building up organizational cultures and making sure that the leaders within those organizations have what they need to succeed. There's this time in my life, and I'm going to go back to being a hip hop dancer. I was part of a dance troupe, a hip hop dance troupe, and I was advising the leadership team on how to not only get along as a leadership team, but how do they set the tone for the rest of the company and all of the dancers. And really what it came down to were those top leaders of the organization, the choices they made, not only business choices, but word choices, staffing choices. It was really all about how they interacted with people that set the tone for the whole organization. And, at that time, I was in college trying to figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up. And when I spent time, Michael, with this leadership team, and I was able to coach them from their highest self, and I'll explain what I mean by that. When I coach and when I am with a leader, I already view them as, how can they reach their fullest potential? And what if they had already done that in the moment? And I'm speaking to people from their highest self. So that's what I mean. And when I was able to do that and see the major results from when I first came in, communication wasn't there. People feeling related to each other wasn't really there. And from what I saw from that day to today, after working around the world with so many organizations and leaders, I now see this there's a common denominator and thread, Michael, and that people just like to spend time in their heads, and being in your head, you guys, is a bad neighborhood to hang out in. And that's where the servant leadership comes in, and the emotional intelligence comes in. Because when you, as an advisor, a confidant, a trusted advisor, a coach, when you can really relate to people as, they are their highest self, but they just have something going on, something in the way, then you're able to separate the noise from the commitment. And I want to talk about that more, Michael, the noise versus the commitment. Because we are like out here in the world. I mean, turn on the news for 2 seconds, you'll see it. People think the noise is real, and it's just not. It's just not. So I want to just share
I'm
that
gonna
moment when
ask
I
you.
knew this is it. I have to dedicate my life to this. I have to help people get out of their own way.
Wow, and it to remember that moment. I guess we all have that moment
Yes.
that we decide to do something. That moment that maybe we met someone that changed the trajectory of our lives. But you're right. There's so much noise around, and because you're in it, you feel like it's real. I really wanted to dive into that point that you made right there. That you know the noise is not real. What does that mean, and kind of what do you mean when you're describing that the noise?
Yeah, let's take it in the perspective of leadership. Okay. So, and what does leadership mean? It means that we are in a position where we have followers. If we don't have followers, then we're not leaders. That's the definition of a leader. So there's some aspect where there's eyes on us. And as leaders, and I speak to so many on a daily basis, and just as part of my life here, is leaders are people too. Leaders are people too. And as people, Michael, we are these fantasy believers. We think things are real. So I'll give you a specific example. I'm happily married with 2 kids, 9 and 5-year-old daughters. And I mean, it's happening in our homes where I see it all the time with the girls. It's she stole my toy and now we're not friends, and now and there's all this drama.
The world is over.
People with daughters can relate. But that's just an example, Michael, of what's going on in our organizations. Is something will happen, we make up a story about it, and we think that's the truth. And it's just not the truth. And I ask my clients all the time, is that the truth? Is that what really happened? And oftentimes I get, yeah, it's what really happened. They really did, do this thing to me, and these backstabbing people. But I think my point is, Michael, if we can really get as humans, we're all interconnected. We're all operating from the same system, which is that we are committed to something higher than ourselves. And when we can just break down these walls that are separating us, then that's when we have a chance to act on this art of servant leadership, of using this emotional intelligence. So, Mike, there's so much I can say about this, Michael, but I love all your questions, and I just love that we're engaging in this topic that's so near and dear to my heart.
No, I love the example you gave about your daughters, about, my toy's gone and now the world is over. It makes me think about a short story that I read where there was a guy who went into a grocery store. He gets all his groceries and he goes to the counter and he says to the woman standing there, he says, "Hey, how you doing? How's the day going?" And he's saying this while he's putting the groceries there, and he gets no response. So he's annoyed. He pays. He walks out, and he's thinking, I mean, this person working at the store was rude. I mean, was she having a bad day? Like, what's going on? What's the issue? He goes back to the store the next time, and one of the lines is closing up, and he's like, oh, he's trying to hurry up and go on that line. It closes, so then he has to go back to the lady, and he's already upset. He's like, oh, I have to go to this lady again, who is super rude and who doesn't care about the customers. So he goes to the line, and this time he makes eye contact and kind of says, hey, what's going on? And the customer service lady says, I'm deaf. And the thing about it was, he had made up this whole story in his head.
Yes.
About this lady is mad. She has bad customer service. I may not come to the store anymore. I definitely don't want to go on her line. When in reality, what had actually happened was he spoke, she didn't hear him, and that was it. And I think what you're saying is a lot of the times that for leadership, not only do individuals have to be able to be self-aware and understand what actually happened, how can I pivot from that, but also to be able to have the clarity and the communication tools to be able to let others around them, their followers, kind of know when these situations are happening around.
Absolutely, Michael. Yes. And as leaders, we have a responsibility to step out of our comfort zone and our awareness and ask the question, did I make up a story in my head, or is there something else? Do I need to be looking and asking, why this person isn't talking to me? What, maybe they are having a bad day. Maybe we don't know at the time that they're deaf, but we are actively engaged in the process of being inquisitive, of being curious, and not taking this truth of I'm always right, taking that on, because that's just not the way.
Oh, no, it's not.
It looks like, Michael, we have a question that just came in.
Oh, great.
Do you see that question?
Yeah, let's go with that. So how can introverts who tend to live in their heads develop emotional intelligence?
I love that question.
Great question.
That's such a good question. So, okay, how can introverts who are living in their heads develop emotional intelligence? And this is not just for introverts. This is everybody, because everyone's living in their heads. The one word that's coming to mind, Michael, is the word empathy. And it is the one thing that I am adamant about as far as being a mother of two daughters, of what I'm committed to passing on to this next generation, is that word empathy. And the question is, how can I as an introvert develop emotional intelligence? I'll kind of rephrase the question of, how does one develop emotional intelligence? You do that by flexing your muscles in empathy. That's step number one. And it really is a skill that needs practice. It's not something we just think about or do once in a while when we think about it. Empathy is this ability to feel and to really be in the presence of another person's being and essence and feeling. So if we're taking ourselves out of the situation, out of the equation, out of the scenario, and we're saying, okay, what would it be like to be this other person? When you're able to actually step into that fully, emotional intelligence comes easy. So let's talk about what emotional intelligence is. I mean, I don't have the dictionary. I was going to say Webster dictionary. I mean, I'm aging myself. We used to have books. We used
just
to have
Google,
big
just
books
Google now.
when I was young, and we would go to W. It was called a Webster dictionary, so I don't have one of those in front of me. But emotional intelligence is this ability to be with another intuitively. I mean, to kind of sum it up, there's probably books and movies on what it really is, but that's my definition. I'm going to stick to.
I love how you summed that up, and kind of encapsulated that in the space of leadership. It's being in tune with that other person and being other focused, and thinking really outside of ourselves. And I'm interested to know about some of kind of the organizational things that you've seen with working, overseas and with working in, even the private versus the government. But before I kind of get into that, I wanted to take one step back. Is everyone a leader? Or, I mean, is it in every single person, there is leadership and everyone's a leader? Or is it more so that you found working with leaders, you can kind of help the people that are already leaders elevate and take it up to the next level?
Yeah, let's break down your question. Is everyone a leader? I mean, this is a great debate that we all can have. And since I have the microphone, I'm just gonna go say what I think. My opinion is that we are all innate world leaders. I just have this belief, and people can disagree, and that's okay. I see my daughters as world leaders. I see you as a world leader, Michael. I see everyone in this audience. And when I say that, I don't mean you must be the president of your country. I don't mean that. What I do mean is that we all have this responsibility to be more than just self-interested. And why is that? Because when we accept, embrace, and really own that we're connected as humans, when we can really get that and be of service to others, then we're accelerating the evolution of humanity, because we're so we're these people who want to just be happy and just naturally. We're not these creatures who are meant to be in solitude and confined in silos. And so when I get into a project or as a consultant, if I'm in an environment, an organization, and I see people like, pre-COVID, like working in their silos, and that person's in that cubicle and that person, it's so not natural. We are meant to be connected. And so back to this topic of servant leadership and emotional intelligence, it's again this innate and intuitive way where we can all be together. And when I say be together, I mean be related. I just hung up right before this talk. I had a meeting with a client, and they were talking about how there's different levels of leadership, but they're not communicating with each other, the different levels. The leaders aren't they're not really communicating with each other, but yet there's this one tight-knit group over here that meets all the time.
Sure.
And then everybody here is like out in the dark. And that's not uncommon. That's a lot of organizations I see, Michael. And what the work I'm doing there is, okay, how can we create a more holistic culture where people feel valued, they feel heard, and we're increasing the bottom line and making money? Then that's what we're all trying to do, right?
That's the win-win.
Good. And live in our mission. Like, how can we get all of that done? And my opinion to that is we just need to get connected to each other.
No, I love that quote that you said. We are all meant to be connected. And that kind of speaks volumes to the philosophy that you're sharing on what is that art of leadership. It is not just, going to an event together, not working together on a project, but kind of that in everything that we do, that willingness and that having the purpose of it being other focused, it being connected with others. And we are meant to be connected. I mean, that was something that's just powerful. I have to say, since our last question, a lot of questions that have been blowing up. So I know you guys have a lot of questions. Stop asking questions, and I'm going to go the questions of the participants.
Okay.
So one of the next ones is, we are often taught that leaders must be in charge and in control. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can demonstrating too much empathy be a disadvantage for certain leadership contexts? Oh man, that's a great question.
That is a good question.
That is a great question.
That's a good question. So we are often taught that leaders must be in charge and in control. Can demonstrating too much empathy actually have the opposite effect?
Absolutely.
And this is why it's a good question, because it's on everybody's minds. Even the most senior leaders that I've coached, and when I say senior, I mean they have like hundreds and thousands of people in their organizations, and these are people at the top of the organization. and they want to hold on to this control. And an example of that is we were rolling out a large change that would affect the entire enterprise, and this leader just didn't want to give out information too early. I wanted to control the message and make sure we controlled the behaviors. And here's what I told that person: they're gonna do what they're gonna do. They're gonna talk at the water cooler and spread those rumors. They're going to behave how they're going to behave. And you can't control your kids. You know that. And I'm telling this person. So what makes you think you can control all of these employees? So I will say, however, all of that said, there is a fine line, and the word I use is not control. The word I use is words I use are more self-respect, confidence, and just that confidence in who you are. And it's not control. It is you showing up, and now it's like this. Now it's virtually to all your employees, but you standing in a room and saying, all right, this is the change that we are going through right now. I know it's impacting you, and this is how it's affecting you. And the leadership team has gone ahead and made this decision. And this is the vision and the future that we see. We see a world where all of your lives are better because we've made this sacrifice. And now just imagine if we can you can just pretend we're in that future place, and how much easier it will be. So it is that leader's role to be in control. You have to be in control of your feelings and of yourself. But again, I don't use the word control, Michael. I just use the word be confident in yourself as a leader, what you're doing, how you're doing it. Because if you're not confident, then the people around you are going to see that, and then they're just going to make up more stories in their heads. So just stay the course.
No, and I love that. I mean, you have to be. It doesn't have to be control or forceful necessarily, but especially in the context that we're speaking, but confident, because when we're talking about this servant leadership, it deals with people, and it deals with the empowerment of people. And that doesn't just mean that you're able to encourage and give out. But what I hear you saying is that also means that you have to be strong enough and confident enough to sit there and receive the feedback, to receive people being themselves, and to receive, the questioning of things, but be rooted, not stubborn, but rooted. And I love that message.
Yeah. And Mike, let's touch on that for a second. Being rooted. Rooted is knowing who you are through and through. And it takes work to have that kind of security. It takes a lot of personal development work. That's why I also very much believe that to transform organizations, we must transform as individuals first. And doing that and it's not easy work. It's emotional work. It's looking at where do I need to improve? Like you're saying, being open to that feedback. But if you can't do that as a leader, then what makes you think you can lead an organization? And I speak like this all the time to my leaders. Like, you want the title, then go do the work.
Do the work.
Do the work.
I love that response. Again, questions are literally pouring in.
We have a lot of questions.
So I'm going through, but I'm gonna pick this one. I like this one because it kind of flips what we've been talking about on its head. But I think that you'll have a great response to this. Yeah. So, in an effort to be tuned in with others, which is what we've been talking about this entire time, how important is it to be tuned in with oneself? And how does one get tuned in with oneself?
Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. So we've been talking about, and I'll just paraphrase. We've been talking about tuning in with one with other people and being
Yep.
other focused, and we are meant to be connected. So
Yep.
understanding that, how important is it to be tuned in with oneself, and what are the steps to take to be tuned in with oneself?
I love this question. We can have a whole few-hour talk on this question. Being in tune with yourself is always the number one. I don't know of anything way more important than that. Wherever your faith is, wherever that lies in a higher power outside of yourself, your relationship with you and that higher power is everything. So in that same vein, that's your relationship with yourself. So I have taught many courses on this. I've given many speeches on this, but if we are, Michael, to summarize, how does one get in touch with themselves, or how do you become aligned with who you are? Wow. Again, it's that work. So let's break down what that means, what the work is. So when we're born, let's just break it all down. When we're small,
I'm here for it.
We're here for it. I mean, you're all here. We might as well go there. I mean, when you look at those 2-year-olds, the 1 year, even the babies, when they're not crying, there is this sense, as we all know, this just sense of freedom, love, life, presence. Okay. And then from that moment to now, as adults, things happen. So mom yells at me. Okay, that means I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy. I didn't make the baseball team, so I'm definitely not worthy or loved. And then I didn't get into the college I wanted to get into. And then this friend stops talking to me. Sure. And then this person is now my ex-wife and no longer my wife. And then all of these things are happening. And then we just believe that we are this incomplete, unlovable, not good enough thing. And it's just simply not true. So that's why we talked about earlier in this conversation, Michael, is we are hanging out in our heads, this bad neighborhood where we are making up these stories and we actually believe these things to be true, and they're just not. These are things that have happened. Yes, I understand these are emotional triggers and they got really deep into us. The work to get aligned with yourself is to unlearn and undo. So there's many options. There's tapping, there's therapy, there's dancing. Dancing's very therapeutic. There's so many ways that we can let go. And that's the work. The work is to be very honest with yourself. Who do you need to forgive? And I was going to say you need to forgive yourself, and why do you need to forgive yourself? Do that work. Sure. But sure. Who has really done that thing to you, and you're the one who's holding on to and drinking the poison, not them. That you're the one holding the grudge. So these are all the things that lead up to how can I align with myself? Because when we have all these walls, Michael, all these blockages around these lies of who we are, then there's no way we can get aligned with ourselves. So that is truly the work. And once you're able to do that work and really come to a place of I'm happy, I'm free, then we can have another conversation. But I'm not pretending the work is easy or it's going to take a day or two. No, this is lifelong work. It is very similar, Michael, to going to the gym.
Okay. It's break that down for us.
Lifting those weights.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. That's how
so I Oh, okay. I love this question. So I'll go with this. What are for you beyond, what a servant leader should be doing, beyond having that focus outwardly, beyond having positive intentions, beyond aligning with oneself, which are all things that we've discussed? What are the characteristics that you have seen, positive characteristics that you have seen in leaders and in servant leaders in your experience and in your work?
Great question. The characteristics, there's so many, but let's pick my favorite ones. It's someone who's going to give the credit to the team.
Wow.
It's not about them. It never was about them. And they know why they're there. They're there to serve others and to give credit where credit is due. So a servant leader is someone who just does not put themselves as the center of the universe or equation. It's just not part of their thinking whatsoever. They understand that they're part of a team. So that, I'll just say that for the first one. It's someone who gets that they're part of a team, they're going to give credit to the team. Okay. A servant leader is also someone who's willing to roll up their sleeves and do the work. These are people who will do the work that they have delegated out to their team. They are not afraid to make photocopies or make coffee or do the things that are beneath them. These are people who really do see, I'm going to get done whatever needs to get done. And then I think a last thing as far as what I see in servant leaders, these are people who are well-rounded people. They're not obsessed with their work. They're not workaholics. They're not in this also fantasy land where they're like so removed from reality of like maybe we can just live in rainbows and butterflies. But these are people who are well-rounded, and their relationships reflect that. They have a diverse group of people around them.
I've never heard that one before, and it makes so much sense when you say it. They're not workaholics. I mean, we think, maybe that's the noise, right? We think that we have to work harder. We have to stay up 24 hours. We have to be the first one up and the last one there. And I guess you're saying in your experience, what you've seen with successful leaders, the effective ones, is that they have a balance. They find a way to balance these things.
Michael, I'm just going to go out and say something that may be really controversial, but it's the opposite that's going to give you success. So that grind of waking up before everyone and working 24 hours, that's not going to attract the results that we're all looking for. It starts with that self-alignment. And when maybe we should define what that looks like or what that is. What I think self-alignment is I am taking actions when I feel the best about the direction I'm going in. So sure. When I'm waking up in the morning and stubbing my toe and everyone in the house is yelling at each other, and then I take a meeting in that space and I'm not in alignment, right? But when I wake up in the morning, I do my meditation or I have my quiet time, I center myself, I'm very intentional about my day, and I'm in, when I'm in alignment and then going into my day from that perspective, I'm not working harder. It's not even working smarter. It's just working in that being more aligned, starting with myself and then it having a ripple effect in my day and in my team. So yeah, the answer is not working. And I know this from experience. And I think what a lot of us do, It's when we're unhappy and we're doing something for hours and hours and wondering why we're doing it, that's not going to bring the results that we actually want.
No, I think that is a message. One of the many gems that you've mentioned that we can take home. It's not saying don't work hard. It's not saying don't be committed to a thing, but it's to say don't get overwhelmed with it so much that you're unable to align with yourself, that you're unable to be in the moment, that you're unable to be other focused.
Right.
Wow. Okay, we're getting closer to these points. So I want to ask a couple more questions, just a couple more. This is a great one right here. So how do you know if a person has emotional intelligence? In kind of in your experience, how has that been something that you identify? And I want to take it a step further and to say, how do you know if an organization has a culture where they're open to that type of thinking and that type of progression?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. I love all these questions. How do
Thank
I
you
know
guys all out there for your great questions.
You guys are asking really great questions. How do I know if a person in an organization has emotional intelligence? I mean, it's easy for me to answer and say, and I know it's hard to grasp onto. So I'll just say the word intuition is coming to mind, Michael. When someone has emotional intelligence, if I'm talking to someone or I'm talking to 10 people, who can I tell that the top 2-3 people who have that emotional intelligence? The people with emotional intelligence, if I'm observing them, they're the people who they're making eye contact. They are listening, not speaking. They're feeling the energy of the room. And what that means is they're reading the room, but they're also able to see and feel out the room. I don't know how else to say that, Michael. Sure. But these are people who they trust their gut. They trust that instinct, and they're able to make connections with people instantly or right away. People with emotional intelligence, strong emotional intelligence, have a very strong security in themselves and how they may either walk around a room, or even one-on-one in a conversation. So I can tell someone has high emotional intelligence if the cues are if I see them intently and very intensely listening, and then I can tell if it's absorbing or if they're just like watching TV. So you know how
in one ear out the other.
Yeah. You know, when we're listening to people, it's like we're watching Netflix or television or something.
Absolutely.
The person who's that doesn't mean you don't have emotional intelligence. That means you're just not exercising it in the moment. The person who's exercising in the moment has a gift of really being present with people. And if you feel like you don't have that gift, how can you exercise that gift?
Yes.
It's that word I told you earlier. It's empathy. It always starts from there. That's how you can start that emotional intelligence train moving for you. How can I tell an organization has either has emotional intelligence or is open to it? Oh my goodness. There is this CEO I spoke to, and I don't know if there's anyone who can beat him as far as my memory goes, but the way he leads his life and organization is one of everything we've been talking about: curiosity, being present, not thinking he's better than anyone in the organization. He leads his organization the same way he leads his very diverse family, which he celebrates. So It's someone who is just not afraid of the unknown and willing to lead his organization in that unknown. That is an organization that's open
Wow.
to this emotional intelligence.
You just said something that may have scared a lot of people, because it definitely scared me. Leading an organization, leading a group of people into the unknown. I mean, how do you, and this is going back to your profession, how do you tell someone to do that when you're advising them? I mean, it's that seems like a hard ask, but I guess you're saying it pays off in the end.
The answer is to get that leader to make a declaration of a future vision and to speak and live as if that vision is in the present.
Okay.
So we are leading people into the unknown, uncharted territory. And if I'm coaching you, Michael, you as the head of this organization, we're following you, Michael. We have our faith and our trust in you. So what I need you to do is paint that vivid picture of the place that we're going and use that creativity, but use that inspiration, use that umph that you got of why you built this in the first place.
Sure.
And paint that picture for us and take us there. Go take us there. And yes, it's a scary ask. It's also an exciting ask, because the opposite side of the coin of scary is exciting, sure. Right, Michael? And it's also a responsibility thing. So I have no problem asking my leaders to step into the highest versions of themselves, because that's your job. That's your role. Go take us there with confidence, paint that picture. It's okay to be scared, but I need you to lead us there.
Wow. So this is a personal question from me. I'm curious to know, how do you develop language, or how do you speak in a way that you described, as if, I guess, as if it happened is what you're saying, or as if it's going to, or as if you're in it. I mean, what does that sound like? What, do we have the communications tools naturally to be able to kind of move in that space, or is that something that you develop over time?
Great question. And I do an exercise with my clients to get them there. And I would say, no, it's not natural. I lead change management and leadership trainings for executives in Asia and the Middle East. And instead of getting on airplanes to go there, a lot of it is on Zoom in the middle of the night here in Virginia. And my last training I did, it was going through this iterative process, Michael, of, okay, I have, I'm on Zoom just like this, or I'm on a video conference call, and I'm saying, okay, now imagine the world that you want to create and tell me about it. And for some reason, Michael, just that answering that question does not come naturally to people, because they are here in the now, in the flesh, and the now. And it takes a few tries, but I will say, once they're able to, and then, oh, by the way, before I go there, what I do tell them is, let's pretend we're watching a movie, and describe this movie, tell me about it. That actually helps them anchor into the future. Like, let's just pretend we're watching it. Now tell me what we're watching.
Okay.
And then once we're able to connect the visual with the feelings of, like, okay, this is what I want to create, that's when the magic happens. The obvious thing I'm thinking of is Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream." Like, I mean, talk about speaking something into existence from the future. That's one out of many examples. But does it come naturally to everyone? No. Can you teach it? Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. And is that something that's a kind of annual check-in, or is that something that servant leaders should be doing every day, every morning, or once a week?
I love that
or
question. So there is a time to do it. It's at the very beginning of any change effort. So if we are rolling out a change in the entire organization and enterprise, we got to do it up front, because we need that vision, because we're going to be planted and really ingrained in this vision. It's going to go out in all of our messaging. So that's definitely one time to do it. Okay. And then the truth is that it just lives throughout until it's realized. So we have to get people inspired and moved and connected to something that is not this right here and now.
Okay.
And brands, the well-known brands in the world that we're thinking of, the ones that come top of mind at first, they do a good job at that. So how do we emotionally connect to people within the organization so they stick with this thing over time? That's the job. And yeah, it's daily. Wow. But it's important work. Otherwise, we're going to get off track and forget why we're here.
Wow. I know that if anyone, all the people that are listening, all the people that are tuning in are getting so much from this. I can't believe that it's been an hour already. This is crazy. Time sure flies. But what I do want to do is I want to be a little more light, be a little more leisure, kind of give you a chance to do some rapid fire, right? Some rapid fire questions. This could be fun. No pressure, but let's just go with it and
let's play.
Let's see where we end up over this next minute. Okay, so you said you were in a hip hop dance team. So what was your favorite hip hop song at the time?
Oh my gosh. What's my favorite hip hop song at the time? Well, I'll just be real. I'm listening to 90s hip hop all day long, all the time.
Okay.
And Black Eyed Peas was the theme of our wedding in 2010. And my oldest daughter, she said something like, "Mom, isn't that a song from like the olden days?" No, yeah. So 90s and 2000s hip hop it's my jam.
Love it. I love it. Now, any first favorite book that comes to mind?
Oh, The Alchemist, I think, is a must read for everyone. The 4 Agreements, another one.
4 Agreements, okay.
Yep.
All right. And lastly, I'll say, who is your shiro or hero that you have had kind of growing up?
Well, I mean, that's easy. My mom is so, I might start crying. She's a servant leader, and she's so selfless, and she's thinking about others. And because of how she raised me and really encouraged me to be a leader at a young age. I mean, I was traveling all over the state of California teaching leadership conferences, and my mom would just like put me on an airplane and just the way that she raised me and encouraged me to be this who I am now. That's, Michael, is what I was telling you I do with my clients, as I always see them as the future version of themselves. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this woman, me today, is who my mom saw when I was little. So
the ultimate servant leader. Oh my goodness. Well, I don't think there's any better way to end this than that right there. So I'm gonna stop it right there. I'll say, over this past hour, we've had a chance to speak about being other focused. We've had a chance to talk about being present in the moment, being self-aware, understanding what really happened, and to be able to develop the communication tools to be able to explain that to others as a leader. We've been able to practically go through what those tools look like, and the consistency at which we should be using them with changes in our lives and changes in the situations. So, I mean, you pretty much threw everything at us today, and I know we have a lot. We definitely have a lot to be able to meditate on and focus on. So thank you so much, Miss Joni Ray.
You are so welcome, Michael.
This was
Michael,
an amazing
if anyone wants to get a hold of me, I'm at themindsetgroup.com. Themindsetgroup.com is my company, and I'm happy to continue the conversation.
Absolutely. For all of you aspiring servant leaders out there, all of you leaders that are leading organizations, big or small, please give them one more time your contact information so they can make sure.
Our website is themindsetgroup.com, themindsetgroup.com. I actually have on there a manifesto, Michael, that I wrote. It's this declaration from the future of this is what I'm looking to create by transforming organizations, and we all need to act now. Wow. So that is right on there. When you go to themindsetgroup.com, you can download that for free.
Well, thank you so much for that. We appreciate your time. Miss Joni Ray, everyone. I'm going to give her a round of applause. You can hear the claps from my room. But thank you all so much. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, everyone. It was so fun. Thanks, Michael.